recordings or yes. And yet they have the date on them, but that's what they're living the date.
Mr. Abbott.
Yes, sir, Mr. Carter.
Oh, how are you this wonderful afternoon?
I am, and for the record, I am at 3421 Gulf Beach Drive, St. George Island, Florida.
All right. Thank you, sir. Is the weather down there like it is here? It's about 90 degrees here.
No, it's actually about 75 or 80. It's been a cool day here.
Yeah. That's good. Okay. I got after 6, actually. Hereby call the Appomattox County Board of Supervisors meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone. This large attendance in order. And Mr. Abbott, when I say large attendance, I think we got about 5 folks. And we welcome you on the phone. And at this time, we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance, and then immediately following our invocation by Supervisor Mr. John. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Father, we're so thankful tonight we can be here and go about the business of the county of Appomattox. We just ask for your guidance. We ask for your protection for our EMS and fire personnel, for our sheriff and his deputies, and that they will be able to do their duties without having injury involvement. We just pray for this country. We lift it up our leaders everywhere, that they will turn to you for guidance instead of relying on their own knowledge. We ask your blessing on the military. In Jesus' name, amen.
Okay, we are happy to have in our midst tonight Chief Jonathan Garrett. And Chief Jonathan Garrett, Appomattox County Volunteer Fire Department, requests appeal before the board to discuss a location for a training facility located off of Poorhouse Road. Of course, it's by the county landfill property. Mr. Garrett will be providing the financial facility usage along with information for consideration to the board, affording the opportunity of the board to discuss, address questions and our concerns. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Carter, members of the board. I appreciate you allowing me to get before you tonight. I want to talk to you about fire training proposal for a facility to go out next to the sheriff's office.
Mr. Chairman, could you get him closer to the mic?
Can you hear him now, Mr. Abbott?
There it is. Can you hear me now?
Yes, fine.
All right. So I want to talk to you all about using some property that is owned by the Board of Supervisors. It's right directly beside the Sheriff's Office range facility that also borders the county landfill. My goal is to just simply ask your permission to use the property. It's going to join the driveway at 687 Poorhouse Creek that's shared with the Sheriff's Office and the State Police. And my goal is to place a fire training facility similar to the one on the front page of the documents that you've got. All it is basically some shipping containers, cargo containers. Basically, you take 2 of the 40-foot containers on the bottom and stack some on top. I'm probably going to go with like a 20-foot container on the top of it to allow for 2 levels. But the goal with this is to practice on structure fire training with synthetic smoke machines inside of that structure. So tonight I'm here before you just simply asking your permission to use that property for this. I don't anticipate spending a whole lot of money on this. At the most, what we've been quoted was about $15,000 for the development of this, and a large portion of that is just the containers. And that's if we were to get 4 containers that are 40 foot. I don't think we're going to have to go that route, but my goal is we were working with Sonny Merriman to secure these containers, and they're going to see about maybe discounting them or working with them to try to discount them so we get a better deal on that. But that's going to be in and of itself the largest expense. Beyond that, we're going to outfit it inside just to look like a home. And my goal is once it's finished, we could share use with the sheriff's office and the state police to so they can use it for like building clearing drills. I know the TAC team practices, try to, at least when schedule suits it, practice monthly. Sometimes it's down there, sometimes it's other locations, but this would allow for them to also use this facility. And I think I shared with Ms. Adams an email of support from the state police range master from down there. I believe she has a letter of support from the Sheriff Simpson as well. Okay, all right. But Sheriff's Office spoke to Sheriff Simpson today, and he confirmed, I guess, that the Sheriff's Office would like to be able to use this and would likely use it monthly if their schedule suits it. So I don't anticipate asking you all for any money from this. I just simply want to ask for permission to use the property. My goal is to try to use fire program funding if we incur any costs beyond what we're expecting here. The fire department would take care of the upkeep and coordinate the use of this facility with Sheriff Simpson and the state police based off of the scheduling system they already have going now. This facility would be open to use for joint trainings and trainings from other surrounding departments that have an emergency service zone in Appomattox County. So it's my goal to allow everyone around us that we work with from all the different agencies to be able to use at this facility. But it wouldn't be just structure fire training. So typically now if we do vehicle extrication training, we do it in the field beside the rescue squad building. And if we leave torn up cars there for an extended period of time, it looks kind of cruddy. So I don't want it to be an eyesore right on the outskirts of town. So I'd like for this to be able to occur down there at this facility, that we could host some joint trainings, and it's kind of out of the immediate public eye. This facility in and of itself cannot host any live fire training because it's not anything that's, we're going to do our best to build it to NFPA standards, but it won't hold any live fire. So we're not able to use that for that at this point. The only thing we might do, sometimes we do some car fire training scenarios. But other than that, if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Floor is open for questions for Chief Gary.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Hope.
I think he's already answered most of the questions I had coming in. The only other one I guess is really still outstanding is how likely is it, due to the shortage of these shipping containers,
Yep.
that you're actually going to be able to get some?
So according to Sonny Merriman, we've got a pretty good chance or likelihood of securing at least 4 of these after January. He said Walmart always orders several of these when the holiday season hits. And so after January, so once that stuff's gone away, they just sit in the parking lots for a while. And the ones that are here at the local Walmart belong to Sonny Merriman. So he said that they would become more available after the holiday season. So that would give us some time to prepare the site for it. But I feel pretty certain that we can attain that based off what Sonny Merriman's telling us.
Any additional questions? Well, Chief Garrett, I'd like to say, personally, I think it's a great idea. I think that all the people that you named involved, I think can reap a lot of benefits from it. And thank you for coming up with the idea.
Yes, sir. Thank you,
I
Mr.
tell you
Chairman.
right now, I think it's really going to be a success.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming.
Yes.
Any other items, Ms. Adams? That's what I was going to go with. You don't have anything else for a workshop?
No, I just wanted for you to notate that I did read the document for the site plan, and I think, like we mentioned in the book, he's working with Mr. Rourke, and and they're gonna determine exactly what that layout would look like. And if okay, we would bring it back, where did Chief Garrett go? Okay?
Yeah.
We would bring it back possibly to the November meeting for the board's approval.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Hinkle?
On that, I guess my only question would be is, would it require a memorandum of agreement between the county and the fire department?
Yes, it would. Because it's
Would.
one big parcel of land, it's not subdivided.
Any other questions or concerns, suggestions? All right, let's go right into our main event here. Setting of agenda, Ms. Adams, you've got a couple things you want to list.
Yes, sir. I have 3 requests to amend the agenda. An invoice from Lynchburg Humane Society in the amount of $43,500, and that's our 6-month obligation to the Humane Society in the current contract. Secondly, we have the Commonwealth's Attorney, Les Fleet, who would like to appear before the board. I think I forwarded an email to you today that hopefully all of you have had the opportunity to review, and he's going to speak to that. And then third, I have Sheriff Simpson, who would like to address the board. I think he spoke with some of you about a closed session item, but after conversation with the attorney, they have determined that he would like to speak publicly on that subject matter.
Okay. All right, let's list LHS 1A, Commonwealth Attorney 1B, and the Sheriff 1C. Any supervisors have any items like to add to the agenda?
Mr. Carter, may I correct something?
Yes, ma'am.
The LHS invoice should be included on the invoices that you will adopt, the amended copy that Mrs. McCormick printed for you. So that doesn't need to be a separate line item as far as voting on.
Okay,
That would be included with your vote on accepting the invoices as presented.
the amendment would be.
The LHS
Oh, yeah.
amount,
Okay.
unless you wanted to pull it out for discussion.
Thank you. Okay, is there a motion then to adopt the agenda as is with the 3 items listed?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is that second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Okay. Next is citizen public comment period. This period is provided by the board to allow citizens the opportunity to address the board on issues of importance to the citizen. No individual citizen shall be permitted to address the board for more than 3 minutes. And I see Mr. Rourke is going to the back, see if anybody signed up.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
It is only 6:15, so I'm not sure if
You want to wait on that?
that would be up to the board.
What's the board's pleasure? Want to wait till 6:30 to see if anybody, we could come back to it, or we just wait, delay it, or move forward?
Mr. Chairman, I would, since 6:30 is the advertised start time, I would put off public comment until 6:30.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
Your opinion, Mr. Hinkle? Also? I agree. Yeah. Mr. Abbott, you too?
6:30, yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Christie is not here. Well, let's go into the 1A, Lynchburg Humane Society. Ms. Adams.
Mr. Carter, that invoice will be adopted with the invoices presented for payment. So if you want to move on to 1B, that would be appropriate.
Okay. Mr. Fleet, come on up, sir. You just wanted a $65,000 question.
I hope it won't cost that much. All right. Did everybody receive the email that I had sent out earlier with the background with my request and everything? Let me just address something very quickly on that. I'm going to address the email, and that's what I will be going off of. I did find an email from Miss Adams to my office that was dated April 2nd of this year, where it said the board agreed to increase funding in the amount of $24,207 to cover the expenses of your part-time J&D prosecutor. If you recall, I came in April because we had received information from DCJS that the grant that funded that position was going to run out at the end of December. You graciously listened to my plea, and you voted to increase my funding for that position from January 1 to June 30th in the amount of $24,207. When I did my calculations on the email that I sent you, I just went half of what the grant-funded position is currently and put in $22,500. So the actual amount that you previously approved was $1,707 more. So I did make the amendments on that. Do you want to just write that in, or do you want me to hand out the new proposal, if you will? I'm more than happy to hand it out if that's
That would
the
probably
board's pleasure.
suffice better.
Okay. Mayor Pro-
Please. Thank you, sir.
The long and the short of my request is, if you recall back in June of 2019, when I was appointed as the sitting Commonwealth's attorney, when my predecessor was elevated to the bench, we were also advised by the General Assembly through email around that same time that we were required to provide a body cam person, an attorney to review body cam for any jurisdiction that had body cameras. Appomattox Sheriff's Office does have that. I consulted with the county administrator, the county attorney. We came up with a budget of $35,000 because I felt in good conscience that we did not need a full-time prosecutor, that the body cam footage was such that I felt a part-time person could do that, even though Richmond said that every jurisdiction had to provide a full-time unless an agreement was made with the Commonwealth's attorney. We advertised, we interviewed a number of candidates, and we found no one that was qualified. So I assumed, since I'm responsible for the office, I assumed the duties of reviewing the body cam footage that came in from the Sheriff's Department. I quickly found out that there weren't enough hours in the day to do that. I will readily admit I made a calculated guess, and it was wrong. And with all my other duties, I was unable to keep up with the influx of body camera footage coming in. That being said, we have gotten further and further and further behind. Being further behind, we are keeping our head above water as far as reviewing body cam footage and dash footage from law enforcement vehicles for pending criminal charges. So we are fulfilling our duties that are required of us as far as discovery goes. Mr. Hogan knows that the discovery rules completely changed on July 1st, and we have a lot more that we have to provide defense attorneys. That being said, because we are just keeping our heads above water with current cases, the caseload is increasing. I am fearful that we are going to fall further behind as far as just pending cases. I haven't even looked at body cam footage for traffic offenses and other things dating 2 and 3 years ago. Unfortunately, what's happening is all those recordings are being stored, and the storage capabilities are being overloaded. I have emails in here that I was a part of the emails with the Sheriff's Department and with Ace, who is our IT manager for the county. I will back up a little to say that it was, maybe a year or so ago, the county administrator, the sheriff, and I got together for a number of meetings. We determined that our IT issues were paramount over this issue. So I volunteered, if you will, to take that $35,000 that you allocated for the body cam person back to the county so that it could go into hiring our current IT manager, Ace Bailey. I don't regret that decision. He has been a godsend for our department, I know for the Sheriff's Department, for the county administration, and I don't regret that one bit. However, what's happened is that, as I stated, we're getting further behind, and the hard drive that is storing this is being filled to capacity. The emails indicate from Ace indicate that he is kind of jerry-rigged, if you will, and is taken some of those videos and put them on external hard drives. Some of those hard drives are his, but it's a temporary solution. There's the latest email that I was a part of was from October 15th, which was this past Friday, where he said that the storage server is full again. Some of the older footage is in a temporary holding place, but that soon will be full as well. And he gave a recommendation to the Sheriff's Department to purchase additional equipment to expand that to the tune of $1,800. The sheriff, and I will let him address that, but I believe that the sheriff is going to go forward with that. But again, that is a temporary solution because we will soon fill that. All that being said is the groundwork to say what I'm asking to do is reapportion monies that the county has already allocated to my office, along with the grant that comes in from DCGAS, and make the part-time J&D prosecutor that we have a full-time prosecutor. I would give up the part-time legal assistant that y'all gave us, gave our office. Put that money into the pot, if you will, and Ms. Smith would go from 20 hours a week to 40-plus hours a week. Now, I will say she's already working on average 25 to 30 hours a week. She's being paid by the grant 20 hours. She's in the office 20 hours. The other 5 to 10 hours each week, she works remotely, either by phone or by her laptop computer, just keeping up with her duties as J&D prosecutor. As a full-time prosecutor, she would take on the additional duties of going in and reviewing these backlog of videos, and up to where she can even start viewing the current ones that may not pertain to her juvenile court. But we have hundreds of hours and thousands of recordings. I just checked with H this evening, that need to be reviewed. Believe me, I don't want to do that as much as you all, don't want me to do that. But the statutes and the legal ethics are very clear that our office has to view every second, every minute, every hour of every single, not only body cameras, but dashboard cameras. We now have to audio and videotape interviews. So we have to view those also. We have to determine whether there's anything of evidentiary value in those recordings, and if so, whether inculpatory or exculpatory, we have to turn over to the defense attorney. If we do not fulfill those duties, not only is it an ethical violation, but they could come after the prosecutor with a bar complaint, and their license could either be suspended, they could either receive a reprimand, a suspension, or their license to be revoked. And obviously, if the license is suspended or revoked, then they cannot be prosecutors. And me, as the elected, I am ultimately responsible, so if anything happens to any of my prosecutor employees, the same happens to me. So that being said, looking at all the monies that are already allocated, it looks like $45,000 comes to us from DCGS. They've informed us that with their big influx of money this year and the foreseeable future, they have refunded that grant. It is no longer in jeopardy of going away. That's according to DCGS. So you have the $45,000 that is funded by DCGS. The $24,207 that you already approved and set aside that I could use if needed come January 1, that's not new money. That's already been approved. I'd ask that that would be added to that $45,000. See, and then the $15,200 that you've already approved for that part-time legal assistant, add that to the pot. So when you add those three sources of income, you come to a total of $84,407. What I'm asking for is a salary of $62,000 per annum. That is comparable to what my other full-time assistant is making, not the deputy, but the other full-time assistant prosecutor is making. That is par with a person with Ms. Smith's training and experience. I am hoping Ms. Adams can address it a little bit better than I can because I don't have all the figures like she does. But I'm hoping that with a salary of $62,000 plus the benefits, I'm hoping that $84,407 would cover that. So the county would not be out any new money. I would think if there's any additional money, it would be a few hundred or so on top of that. But what I'm asking the board tonight is to reapportion the money that's already assigned to the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office so that I can basically change that part-time position into a full-time benefited position. I know I'm kind of long-winded, and I apologize for that.
No.
Any questions?
Floor is open for discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I have one.
Any questions for Mr. Fleet?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Hogan.
I've got a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
The 24K we approved to carry that position out to the end of the year,
Yes, sir.
that was just a one-time approval, right? Or was that for years going forward every year?
I would assume that was for a one-time approval.
Is there anybody in the part-time legal assistant position now?
No, sir. The part-time legal assistant left, I want to say 2 months ago. She sought full-time employment, and she received an offer from a law firm in Lynchburg, and she took that.
Okay. So that answers my questions on that. The other thing I'm curious, in your email, you said that, most of these recordings are going to be traffic stops and interviews with individuals and that do not result in criminal charges. Why would we have to review video for non-criminal matters?
Because the statute says we do. They said that we have to review any video to see if there is anything criminal in there, which would include traffic stops. We have to review videos of anything that law enforcement records. We have to view and determine whether there's something prosecutable or not. We have to review the interviews of suspects, witnesses, any interview that's recorded, we have to review. Review of recordings that this victims of sexual assaults, whether juveniles or adults. If there is a recording of an interview, we have to review that. Now, obviously, most of that would not be discoverable to defense attorneys, but we have to view that to see if there's anything exculpatory in there that we have to turn over to the defense attorney.
But if you don't charge anybody, nothing's exculpatory. There's no crime
No,
to
sir.
prosecute.
But we have to view it to make sure there is nothing.
So I guess the reason I'm asking this is because I know this has not happened in other jurisdictions. So I'm not saying that one jurisdiction is right and one's wrong. I'm just wondering if there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Well,
Because are you saying that for a traffic summons for speeding, you got to review the video on that?
if my understanding, and I put out the question to the Virginia Association of Commonwealth Attorneys, to our association, and they stated that in their view, with what the General Assembly passed, that we are obligated to view every video, whether it's a simple traffic offense up to something that's criminally charged. We have to view every video. Some Commonwealth attorneys disagree with that view, and those might be some of the jurisdictions you're talking about. Personally, if my bar license is at stake, I would rather err on the side of caution than say, well, a third of the Commonwealth attorneys say we don't have to, so therefore I'm not going to because we really don't have the time and I don't feel like doing it. I guess that's my answer.
Okay. Last question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
You said the person that you'd like to put in this position is already working up to 35 hours a week.
30 hours a week, yes, sir. 25 to 30 hours a week.
So we're only talking 5 to 10 more hours a week to make it full-time. Is that really going to help? 5 to 10 more hours? And if it's going to take more time, do we then look at overtime?
Well, the Commonwealth Attorney's Office does not pay overtime. We're salary positions, and so we don't pay overtime. We regularly, well, I won't say regularly, but it is not uncommon for prosecutors to work more than 40 hours a week. She would know going into it, and I've already discussed it with her, that she may have to put in more than 40 hours a week. Now, what I told her I could do is we do have the capabilities to remote in. And so she can remote into Zerker where the videos are stored from home, and she can review videos while she's at home. So I would, she knows that she would have to view those in a timely manner. Now, obviously, I don't expect it to be done in a week. It's taken us a couple of years to get where we're at, unfortunately. It's going to take us a few months. But I will, I'll shoulder some of that burden, and I will put in extra hours and view some of those videos. If we view the videos and find that they can be deleted, we can then inform the sheriff, and we can inform ACE, and then they can start following the sheriff's department's policy as far as deleting these videos and free up storage. Is it an ideal solution? No. But it gets us in the right direction. And I will say this, and then I'll be quiet. I will say this, our caseload is increasing substantially. And so I foresee, once we catch up with all the backlog, I foresee 4 prosecutors just barely keeping up with all the recordings and everything just on the direction that our caseload is going.
Any other questions? I've got a couple myself,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Fleet. So how long do you have to keep these recordings in your possession?
That would be whatever the sheriff's department comes up with as far as a policy. Until we review them, we have to keep them indefinitely. Once we review them and we find that they are not of evidentiary significance, then if the sheriff department has 60 days or 90 days, and then we can delete, then that's what ACE would do, I would suppose.
What about the grant longevity? You foresee this as a continue?
According to DCGS, it's back where we were before. We first received that grant back in 2005, and we've had it since. But who knows with Richmond?
I know it's not going to be like a school resource officer. Any other questions from anyone? Well, we thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for the information you have given to us, and we will take it under advisement.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I did do the math. Mr. Fleet referenced that salary, and the total expenses would be $83,525, and he spoke to, he has $84,407 in revenues, so it's covered under that.
83 what?
525.
Okay,
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Thank you, board.
Okay, now Honorable Sheriff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'd like to take this opportunity to share with you what I call a untenable situation that it affects every citizen in this county, and most egregiously, unfortunately, juvenile mental health patients it affects the most. I'm going to use a couple terms. I just want to make sure everybody understands terminology. When I reference an ECO, I'm talking about an emergency custody order, which is an 8-hour paper that is issued either by a magistrate or a judge that gives us the authority to hold someone and take them for a mental health evaluation. When I talk about a TDO, I'm talking about a temporary detention order, which is the same sort of document issued by a magistrate or judge, and it allows the person to be held for, if they're an adult, 72 hours for evaluation, and if they're juvenile, 96 hours. And I want to tell you about a situation that just happened in our county. I think as the governing body, you need to be aware. On October 10th of this year at 1 a.m., a TDO was issued by a Lynchburg magistrate on a juvenile female from Appomattox. The TDO commanded us to take the child to the Commonwealth Center for Children in Stanton. That is the only state mental health facility dedicated for children, is the one in Stanton. The direction of the TDO through the Attorney General's opinion and the opinion of the Sheriff's Legal Counsel is that a TDO is basically a transportation order. It has an individual's name written on it, and it commands us to take that person from, it's usually Lynchburg General Hospital, to a second facility, in this case, the juvenile home in Stanton, for continued mental health treatment. It's very clear. The wording on it is unambiguous, and it tells us you are forthwith to transport this person. We don't delay. I expect officers to get to Lynchburg and secure the person and get them to the hospital. When we got to the hospital, it's clearly written on the order that we are to take the child to Stanton, but we are told that there is no bed available. That there is no bed available, there will not be a bed available anytime soon, and we just need to wait. This is not the first time this has happened. This has been an ongoing issue for months. And I had a picture, I don't know, Ace can just show it. All right, that's the parking lot of Lynchburg General. And each one of those is a patrol car, and you can't see it all, hit two of them, and there's 3 more patrol cars out front. Every one of those is a local police officer off the street holding a mental health patient. These hospitals are full. They're not accepting new patients. The state hospitals aren't. So this particular child, we started on October 10th at 0055. We transported this child on October 13th at 23:55. So 94 hours into this 96-hour hold before we moved from Lynchburg to Stanton. Now, at 2 p.m. on the 10th, knowing that the bed was not available, I told the deputy to take this child to Stanton as ordered by paper, because we have to move. Even though the bed was not available, I told the deputy to go to Stanton, and we were refused entry. We were told that they would not accept this patient, and that the director wouldn't talk to us initially, but we did get him on the phone, and based on staffing and other problems, he told us he was not accepting this patient. So, of course, the deputy had to come back to Lynchburg and sit in the hospital. I'm going to provide you with some documents here. And the highlighted code section, you'll see that it's very clear in the wording. If you'll look at that 16.1.340.1, the highlighted section, under no circumstances shall a state facility fail or refuse to admit a minor who meets the criteria for TDO. So that is as clear as they get it in Richmond. The legislatures have already solved this problem, in my opinion. They make it very clear that the hospital cannot do what they did. So we went back and we stayed with this child. This child received no mental health treatment for these 94 hours. The deputy's words were they watched her deteriorate over this time. She was in a bay in the emergency room for this entire period. No, not getting time outside, nothing like that. So this is, in my opinion, just an egregious violation of state code. It puts us in a situation that requires deputies to be pulled off the street, out of schools, just to cover this. I have no contingency for 96-hour TDOs. We have had 4 juvenile TDOs in the past month. 2, we delivered to Stanton against their order, telling us they had no bid, and they accepted them. We have forced them to accept them. We've forced them to do their job on 2 occasions. One was released early, and then this 4th child waited the 94 of 96 hours in a hospital bed in the ER without mental health treatment, going through a mental health crisis, as determined by CSB because they TDO'd her. So I've been in contact with the county attorney. We've discussed this. I am bringing this to you because, as I said, it's an untenable problem. We can't keep doing the way we're doing with this. It is affecting the department operations. It affects public safety when we're pulling officers. And most of all, we have a child, we've had multiple children that aren't getting the treatment that they need. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to entertain, but that's the problem that we're facing.
Board's open, isn't it? Questions, concerns for the sheriff?
Chairman, just for everybody's information, my office was on a conference call today with a bunch of other jurisdictions discussing possible ways to address this because we're not the only one dealing with it. And Eric Lansing, North John Eric from my office, Eric volunteered, they were all happy to have volunteers drafting up a potential lawsuit to get rid of mandamus to force the state agency, state hospital to take these children pursuant to state law. But he said that a lot of the other jurisdictions want to be real enthusiastic about a lawsuit. They're just hopeful the state will fix it, but we have no evidence to indicate that the state has any intention of doing anything. I've advised our sheriff that he's under no duty to try and enforce an order that it's impossible to enforce. If the Stanton Hospital will not take minors, it's not his job to babysit them for 96 hours. And I'm actually writing a memo to that effect, that if he calls the hospital and they say they cannot take that child, then my advice is that he does not pick up that TDO or that ECO, that he does not vainly, for no point, trying to deliver a child, and now the child's safety is at risk, which we're, the sheriff's department's the least qualified of anyone to be dealing with a juvenile mental patient. And so, hopefully at some point, I mean, if we may need to do a resolution to our legislatures, the state needs to address this, because the state hospital is violating state law, putting our sheriff's department, it's real easy, the magistrate just issues the ECO. The hospital says we won't take it, the sheriff's department winds up being, really technically only the deliverer, delivery service, winds up being the babysitter for your child. So just so you know, my advice to the sheriff, and I believe you can follow it, that if he cannot verify that the hospital will take the child, he's not going to attempt to be able to take the hospital. There's quite a bit of case law. U.S. Supreme Court, including the Court of Appeals, that says that an officer can't be expected to enforce an order that's impossible to enforce. So just so you know where our conversation went, where I believe the law is.
Mr. Haynes.
Mr. Chairman, I was at a meeting recently with both Delegate Ferris and State Senator Peake, and the group in the meeting brought up this issue, Sheriff, so I know that both of them are aware of this. And I would also, if it's the pleasure of the board, request that Mr. Latchley draw up a resolution for the board to back up that, we're not supportive of of the sheriff having to transport individuals when there is no space available.
I like that too. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Ho?
I don't have a question, but I feel the sheriff's pain. I see it every day too. This is not just a local phenomenon, this is statewide. And we went through this with adults back in the summer. They shut down all but 2 of the mental health hospitals. I just find it remarkable that the administration in Richmond tells everybody else that you got to follow the law, but they don't have to. It's just baffling to me. And in the meantime, we got juveniles crying in the floor, begging for help, nowhere to take them. And I understand they're short-staffed, but so's he. So are the other, police departments and sheriff's officers that are having to take people across the state, but they find a way to get it done. And it's just remarkable to me that they don't.
I have one question for the sheriff or county attorney. Anywhere within that 4-day period, is social services interacted in any kind of way? Or?
Not unless they have some sort of previous, I don't want to speak on their behalf, is in what I've observed, unless they have some previous relationship with their child. They're not going to intervene and take custody to relieve us.
Yeah, you know win situation. Well, no.
But I do support the attorney's advice and opinion and plan on following that. So I don't know the ramifications of what will transpire once we do that, but unless they have a bid available, we won't be getting involved.
The sheriff didn't elaborate. He reached in 96 hours just about with the possibility of the detention center the child came from, said, no, we don't have that. We could theoretically have a situation where the sheriff's department has a child for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 weeks with no facilities and no, the least qualified of any agency or entity to handle the child. So this is a extreme health and safety risk for children especially.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question, and I don't know if the sheriff knows the answer, but, if this child was already in detention, in the custody of DJJ, why aren't they doing the transport?
They don't have the infrastructure according to them. It's not the same as the state DJJ. This is Lynchburg Detention. They're a somewhat separate entity from the state system. And the child, they took on the ECO, but not the TDO part. So the TDO falls back to the sheriff.
Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns?
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman. Mr.
Oh.
Chairman.
Mr. Abbott?
Yeah, 2 things. Mr. Chairman, I cannot hear the attorney, and I'm having a very difficult time hearing you. I don't know whether your mic's on or you're not closer to it. But my question is, I guess to the sheriff or to you all, should we ask one of our state representatives to ask the attorney general his opinion of what the sheriff should do?
Well,
Ask them for the attorney general to know what they should do.
there's no formal attorney general opinion out there, but Eric Lansing was on the phone call today with all the other jurisdictions. One of the state senators, I don't remember his name, put in a call to the attorney general, and the attorney general said it's the sheriff's job to obey the order and pick up the child, which is, I would like to say to the attorney general, I think it's your job to make state agencies follow the law, but the attorney general seemed more inclined to kick the can to us like everybody else is trying to do.
Well, even though it may not, I hope the Sheriff's Association, Mr. Chairman, will, even though it may not pass, it would use legislation this year to correct this.
Did you have another question also, Mr. Abbott? Mr. Abbott, did you have another question for the sheriff?
No, that was it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or concerns? Thank you, Sheriff, for bringing this to our attention.
Thank you.
I hope we can help out.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go back to our agenda. We are entering into our citizen public comment period. This time is provided by the board to allow citizens the opportunity to address the board on issues of importance to the citizen. No individual citizen shall be permitted to address the board for more than 3 minutes. Mr. Rourke, anyone sign up? Nobody sign up, but is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board without had the opportunity to sign up? Okay, we'll move right on. We can go back to 1A, Lynchburg Humane Society. Can you do that?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman, I think we're close to number 2.
Close, but we're not there yet.
The Humane Society is in the
Supplement, okay.
And Mr. Chairman, I just received notification from Mr. Christie. He will not be appearing this evening, but plans to attend the November meeting, number
Okay.
1.
Can we go to, we got a couple of minutes before the public hearing.
Well, you can start the presentation on the public hearing. You just can't open the public hearing before 7, but you can start the presentation.
Okay, thank you. We have a public hearing on a comprehensive plan review and update. A duly advertised public hearing has been scheduled for the Appomattox County Board of Supervisors to receive comments on the 2021 Comprehensive Plan Review Update. In accordance with Virginia Code 15.2-2230, the Planning Commission has conducted this review and update of the plan, which they began last October. In September 2020, the Plan Commission held a public hearing on the proposed updates. No one spoke at the public hearing. The Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the updates as presented. The updates include amendments to the future land use map in Chapter 3, Growth Management, and amendments to the goals and objectives found in Chapter 1. A detailed comparison of the 2016 adopted future land use map versus the 2021 draft changes, as well as a summary of the changes to the goals and objectives section that has been prepared for our use. Mr. Roy.
It'll take about a minute, so we've got a couple of new folks here that haven't been around for a comp plan update. So once every 5 years, you're required by law to review the comp plan, and our planning commission goes through that during that time period. And about once every 10 years, they do what's more of a substantial, almost a rewrite of the comp plan. So this is, they did that rewrite in 2016. This is the update. And mainly what they go through is the future land use map. And each time they kind of drill down a little bit more and get a little bit more precise on that map. And as you can see in your package, you've got the map that's got the dots all over it that shows you what the changes were. And then on the next page is the adopted future land use plan from the 2016. I'll be glad to go over any of those changes if you need me to. There is a summary page that kind of tells you what each one of those areas is and what their thinking was, what those changes involved. Then you get into the goals and objectives. This was an item that they took on this time. The goals remained the same. They felt like the goals of the county, of the comprehensive plan, should be the same. They really dug into the objectives. The objectives that were in the plan were somewhere between 15 and 20 years old. So they kind of revamped that greatly during that time. So again, you've got that in your packet, and I won't go through each one of those, but if you have any questions after the public hearing, I'll be glad to answer those.
Thank you, Mr. Roy. Okay, we got 7 bills, and therefore we can enter into a public hearing on a comprehensive plan review. Is it anyone here like to speak for the comprehensive plan as written? Okay, so we don't have to go through pros and cons.
No one signed up, Mr. Cole.
Okay, thank you. Floor is open for discussion.
Close the public hearing,
Oh, close it now.
if nobody's gonna go.
Okay, we hereby close the public hearing. Now, after closing the public hearing, is there anyone to have any questions, concerns?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Abbott?
I have not, you all may have been sent the changes. I think I asked for in the last meeting for the changes. I have not seen them, and I'm not comfortable voting for this until I at least have time to look through the changes. I believe Mr. Rook said that the changes are marked in y'all's package, and maybe some of you all have had a chance to review it, but I haven't, and I don't know if anybody, for instance, I'd ask you, Mr. Chairman, have you reviewed it? Are you comfortable with it? If not, I'd like to put off a vote on it until the next meeting and ask that it be sent to me.
Is there a time element here? Okay. Well, we can table this to the next meeting, no problem.
And that's my motion, to table it till the next meeting.
Okay, is that second?
Second?
All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay.
Aye.
All right, next is public event permit application, the Kind Cup, Mr. Tim Johnson. Be Kind Productions LLC, event organizer, and Mr. Tom Johnson, who's a promoter, has submitted a special event permit application to hold the Kind Cup event at venues located at 247 Station Lane, Concord, Virginia. The Kind Cup is promoted as a cannabis education event featuring Virginia NORML-based CBD farmers and patents. The event is planned for Saturday, November the 6th, 2021. The anticipated attendance is less than 750 patrons. Gates will open at 10 a.m. with activities beginning at 12:30 p.m. Music will begin at 2 p.m. and run until 11 p.m. There will be a glass blowing demonstration, vendors, seed and clone exchange, as well as a cannabis cup competition. There will be overnight camping. Mr. Johnson will be available to answer any questions by the board may have. The application has been reviewed and approved with comments by the building official, zoning administrator, county administrator, public safety director, and the sheriff. And Mr. Johnson, I think you are here.
Yes, sir. And thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Gentlemen of the board for having me. Yes, sir.
Is there any questions anyone would like to ask Mr. Johnson in regards to the Kind Cup?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
I don't know
Haynes?
if it's for who this question really goes to, but why are they asking for, or is it saying that the bond is waived? And what type of bond is that?
Would you like to answer that, Ms. Adams?
That is just a protocol that was put in place years ago, and for all special event applications, we request a bond to be waived.
I was curious about that myself. I wasn't sure what that exactly meant either. And truly, the event's going to be more like probably 200 people, if that many, based on ticket sales.
Now, we noticed that, as we said here, that all of the necessary signatures have been approved.
Yes.
signed off on. Now, some has some questions, if I remember correctly. Mr. Rourke may remember.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I know that the sheriff had commented, said must follow all rules set forth by the Virginia Cannabis Control Board.
Yes.
Have you received those rules?
We've reached out to the Cannabis Control Board, and the board is actually still being built. However, that board, very similar to the Virginia ABC Board, is built to regulate the retail sales. So if we were trying to host an event where someone was coming in and selling what people would generically call cannabis flower, then yes, that would have to go through the board. We're not doing this. This is more of this is our attempt to find work with the county to find a safe place for adults that want to do this and network and meet vendors within that business to maybe eventually grow and have businesses or build ancillary businesses off of that industry to be able to meet some of those people, network, and at the same time listen to some music. It's an over 21 event. No alcohol is going to be served, though we are at a vineyard. I didn't think it would be right, and the intention's not for people to be drinking and, consuming. The emphasis is education. We'll have 3 hours of instruction during this time. We'll have cultivation classes. We have attorneys coming in to speak to the matter of legality, and so people are cultivating in a way that's in compliance and working with the counties. After all, I mean, we look at agritourism in this county, and with the things we've done with the Vault Vineyards, there's a market there, and if done right and work with the counties to do it, we can, set up a nice event that's done like ours within the law, and contacting and making sure everyone is on board with that.
Any other questions, concerns? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay, I haven't heard no concerns. And all, do we need to consider approval of the event application and bond fee waiver of the Kind Cup event at Default Vineyards on November 6, 2021? Is there a motion to approve? Well, I'll make a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve the permit.
Okay, you vote to approve the permit.
I make a motion to approve the permit.
Motion made, is that second? I'll second it now, discussion.
Mr.
Any
Chairman,
Mr. Hingle.
I'm personally struggling with this, and I see both sides of the medical marijuana issue. I have a sister who has MS and is on medical marijuana, and then I have a good friend who started medical marijuana and now is struggling to, get off marijuana. It's not, he sees more trouble than what it's worth for his medical problem. And I see you've jumped up to answer questions, and I'm not being.
I know, I just want to be available.
But, I've seen where, nobody talks about, when you look at Colorado and Washington and these other states that approve medical marijuana, you don't see, unless you really deep dive and Google, the increase of impaired driving. Are we going to have a, Mothers Against Marijuana impaired driving eventually, like we do Mothers Against Drunk Driving? We see all the problems we have with opioids, and you go back to, when I was growing up, it was marijuana's the entry drug into the drug, and I don't see anything where studies have changed that. So basically, I personally believe that in good conscience, I can't promote or support the promotion of a drug that has a history of problems for both law enforcement and the medical and mental health community. I just can't do it. So my vote would be no.
comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Abbott?
Mr. Chairman, I made the motion, because, and would support this only because the sheriff has signed off on it.
I understand, yes, we understand. Further discussion from anyone?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Hope?
I can appreciate the event organizer trying to educate people on what the law is, because quite frankly, the law is confusing. Right now, the people in Richmond have written contradictory laws. Nobody knows what the law is. And I applaud that effort. But because there is that problem, and because you plan, to have an exchange and give away seeds and things of that nature, I think it could lead to people inadvertently breaking the law, because they don't understand how many plants you can have. They don't understand that it's only 4 plants per household, not 4 plants per person, not, all the requirements to go in with that. They don't understand that you can't smoke it in public. They don't understand that, they don't, there needs to be some education. But I share Mr. Hinkle's concern. I also see where this is going to lead to a further abuse of other drugs. It is a gateway drug. It was just in the paper the other day, we're seeing more and more teens and more younger people using marijuana, which is against the law. But if we as a board approve these kinds of events where it's condoned, if you will, I think it sends a bad message to our young people, and I would be a no.
May I make one comment about the verbiage? This was a short time on, because we had someone come to us and say, hey, we want to do this event. I said, hey, I do not do events unless the county knows about it, because I could have 200 people on a farm and nobody know about it. But then turn around and y'all find out it was me and I look bad, and it's not something I want on my lady's name, because this is her company. We own the florist in Rustburg. We bought a community business that's been there 30-plus years. The exchange was before I consulted counsel. I did not realize to have an exchange and to offer exchange is, you're exactly correct, illegal. You can't do that. The verbiage there was when I had to get an event license thrown together. He gave me what he wanted. I looked at it. But once consulting, yes, there is no exchange. We can't have that exchange. Now, by law, someone could freely go up to someone else and they can do what they want. That happens every day or whatever. And you're right. My thing with all this is, and one of the reasons we're having one of the charities that work with disabled veterans right now that do that, are going to be there, is you're right about everything you say about the gateway drug. I argue that people are the true gateway drug. And that's why events like this need people to do it the right way, so it sets a precedent for how it needs to be done. Because whether I like it or not, it doesn't mean, just because I put on an event, it doesn't really say what I support in life, really. The law allows people to do this. I don't want people buying stuff off the street or for somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. I would rather have someone grow in their house. That's why our store, even in Rustburg, offers home cultivation stuff, because we know what people are growing if they're going to consume it. So the education part is a big component, and one of the only reasons we agreed to take this on was that there was a very strong educational component to it, that we had medical dispensaries there to educate people if need be, that I offered the sheriff to be there, or y'all's law enforcement to be there, even if he'd like, and to speak to the subject. So I'm not arguing for it. I just want you to know, what approved or not, when I leave out of here tonight, any event this lady does or I do is done in a way with the county, working with the county to do something right. But that is a bit misleading. I'm sorry it's like that. That's a result of trying to put something together in about 90 days that we would usually take 6 months to do. Everything is in place. We've sold about 100 tickets. And the only reason I went ahead with marketing it was because of the deadline and I had the signatures. If that's not going to be, I completely understand that. But I would beg you just to consider that side of it, because you're right. With all this negativity out there, there needs to be some education, because much of what's taking place, negative, it has to do with the bad actors out there, not so much the marijuana someone gave someone. Because I'll tell you what, most kids now today, unfortunately, can go in their parents' pill cabinet and get a lot worse. And that's one of the real problems today, and why some veterans and so forth are finding that relief with alternative medicines, if used correctly, grown or cultivated correctly, such as CBD is being done nowadays. But again, either way, I support y'all's. I would love your support, but I support your call.
Yes, I'd like to say this, Mr. Johnson. This is a tight one. It really is, as far as I'm concerned.
I understand.
I understand where Mr. Hinkle's coming from, and Mr. Hogan. Fully understand, I fully grasp the society that we live in today. It's not like it used to be, although used to be was alcohol more so, But the thing that I'm toying with is you are having this in an area that, to me, I think is safe. I think the area is safe. I think it gives an opportunity for, as you say, the younger generation, an opportunity to come and be a part of this. What they get out of it, what they take, that's each individual. We all like to think that they're going to take away from their the right things, the right way to do this, the right way to do the other. So that's why, to me, it's a very hard situation. However, I do know, too, that a lot of planning, a lot of thought has been in the process of doing something like this that would be known as very controversial, I'm sure.
It puts our name on the line.
Yeah.
Something wrong, so definitely, I know.
That's exactly right.
For 5 years now, putting on festivals, so it's a risk for us.
So, saying that, I would support that. Personally, I would support that. But I'm just one vote, and we're gonna find out what's gonna occur here. Okay, we've heard from everyone. Is there a motion to approve the special event permit application for the Kind Cup? Oh, it
I
was,
believe you already have a motion.
You just need to vote.
oh, okay. Amnesia. Further discussion. Okay, let's have a roll call vote. Mr. Abbott,
Yes.
Mr. Hinkle. Mr. Hips.
No.
Mr. Hogan. And I vote yea. So 3-2, no. So, thank you. Okay, gentlemen. Next is the Town of Appomattox Town water rate increase. Attached for our review is a letter from Mr. Jeff Elder, Public Works Facilities Manager, and the Town of Appomattox regarding out-of-town water rates for customers who do not live within the town limits. Also attached is a rate of comparison study that was performed with other localities for in-town and out-of-town rates and sample water bills from the Town of Appomattox, showing an increase of $5.80 for out-of-town customers. Mr. Lashley is prepared to address questions relative to the verbiage changed in the MOU between the town and the county, which allows the town who maintains the water system and the town council to set their rates accordingly. Mr. Latch, add some insight to this.
Well, the way that the current water agreement is written with the town, they're required to have the same rates we have. But since then, if the board recalls, we've transferred all of our assets over to them, the maintenance of our assets, and they're actually running and taking care of everything. When the original water agreement was drafted, we had a significant amount of assets we had to maintain and take care of. The town is now basically running the whole system. And so what we did was drafted an amendment that would allow them, since they're running the whole system and footing all the bill for maintenance, allowing them to control their own rates.
Floor is open for discussion. Noticed that Mr. Elder put forth a lot of graphs and a lot of data here for us to digest.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Hogan.
what rate the town would propose for out-of-town customers? Or is it just open-ended?
Well, I think they announced, I can't remember what it was, but they actually announced it before we pointed out to them they needed our change in the agreement.
And I think it's in the letter next to last paragraph. It was 1160, it increased to 1740.
Page 4.
Yes.
That gives us an increase, but it doesn't really give us, what the rate is. Is it just a flat rate no matter how many gallons they use, or?
Well, it's based on, what is it, up to 10,000, the flat rate, then it's increments above that,
Yes.
just like town customers.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
are you
Abbott?
looking for a motion?
Are you asking for a motion?
I am. Looking for a motion.
I'm not sure what the proper motion had would be worded. I assume our attorney could give you the wording for it, but I would move that we allow, that we, I don't know, amend their contract with the town or allow the town to do it. I'm not sure how it needs to be worded.
A motion to authorize the chairman of the board, I was trying to decide whether it's county administrator chairman, I think it'd be appropriate, the chairman, authorize the chairman to execute the amendment to the water agreement, allowing them to set their own rates. So it's really just a
That's
motion
what
to
I meant to
authorize the
say.
chairman to sign the amendment.
So you make as a motion, Mr. Abbott?
That is my motion.
That is your motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Hogan. Further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Hogan.
just some quick math. If my math is right, it looks like the rate would be 1.5 times. The bill went up 1.5 times based on Mr. Elder's letter. So if the rate's going up to 1.5, that seems to be consistent with other localities and the fees that they charge out-of-town customers, knowing that the town is now incurring all the expenses on the water line. That rate seems reasonable to me.
Further discussion? Have a roll call vote. Mr. Abbott?
Aye.
Mr. Hinkle? Mr. Hips?
No.
Mr. Hogan?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. Okay. Next, gentlemen, need to schedule a public hearing. RZ 210610, D&D Land Holdings LLC. Mr. Keith Martin, D&D Land Holdings LLC, has petitioned to have 8.050 acres at the intersection of Stage Road and West Haven Lane rezoned from A1 to agriculture R1, low-density residential. At its October meeting, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the petition. So is there a motion then to schedule a public hearing for November the 15th, 2021, 7 p.m.?
So moved.
Is that second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Mr. Abbott, you vote?
I voted aye.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Who was that?
was this on Stage Road in, New Haven Drive?
Yes.
I want to speak on that.
Not tonight.
Huh?
That's not open tonight for this. This be a public hearing. Scheduled
Oh, okay,
November
well,
15th.
Okay.
Thank you. American Rescue Plan Act bonus for sworn sheriffs and sheriff's deputies. During the 2021 General Assembly special session. 2, the House and Senate approved a one-time $3,000 bonus payment for compensation board-funded sworn positions in the sheriff's office, including sheriff and sheriff's deputies. This was approved by the governor on August 10th, 2021. The compensation board encourages each locality to implement the bonus no later than November the 30th, 2021. Similar to the process for reimbursing assembly bonus in December 2020, the compensation board will provide reimbursement for bonus amounts paid with the payroll reimbursement for the month corresponding to the month in which the bonus is paid by the locality. Floor is open for discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr. Abbott.
I read your statement and I understand as you read it, they're only paying, they being the state, is only paying the $3,000 to comp board approved positions. Therefore, we would have 7 positions, I think is correct, that is not comp board approved, so we would have to fund those, and if that's the case, I hope we will.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
go ahead, Mr. Hope.
Mr. Abbott's exactly correct. That is if we don't do this, then we're gonna have 7 deputies that won't get the bonus and everybody else will. And we can pay this out of our ARPA funds, so it won't be a hit to, our, budget. And, I would recommend that we do that.
Okay, is there a motion then to advertise for a public hearing on this for November the 15th, 2021 at 7 o'clock also?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion.
Motion duly made, is there a second?
Mr. Chairman, do we need a, public hearing for this one, or was that with the previous item?
It has to be adopted by ordinance for a bonus.
Yeah, the state law requires that bonuses. There's a specific state code for
So we do need a state code, public hearing, I'm sorry.
Well, because of,
Oh, sorry.
technically, the state bonus is probably not, but our 7, yes.
Okay, all right, good enough.
Okay, motion been duly made and second.
I'll second the motion then.
No, Mr. Hill, sorry.
It's fine, either one.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. Next is the 2021 Veyko Annual Conference. The 2021 Veyko Annual Conference is scheduled for November the 14th through the 16th, 2021, at the Hilton, Norfolk, the Maine. I got to read that again. At the Hilton, Norfolk, the Maine. That's pretty good. Mr. Hinkle will be attending the meeting along with the county administrator. The monthly meeting of the board is scheduled for Monday, November the 15th. So we need to discuss, is there a consideration of change the date of the meeting? If necessary, the county administrator will not attend. Floor is open for this big discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would recommend that we change our meeting night so they can attend this conference. And if it's the board's, if the rest of the board members, I'd like to keep it on a Monday night. That seems to be consistent, but, I'm open to suggestions, but, the 8th and 22nd, either one of those,
So the 22nd, that's Thanksgiving weekend.
yeah, you're right, it is.
So, I don't know, is the 8th soon enough for a draw up a resolution and things that we've talked about earlier?
Oh, yeah. We voted to advertise for public hearings for the 15th.
Yeah.
Today's, we gotta go back and revise our dates on.
I think in the past, we have moved it to Tuesday night. That's an option, the 16th.
Aren't you guys going through the 16th?
Well, we depart by noon on the 16th.
Yeah, it's probably
16th works for me.
Me too, yeah.
Is Mr. Abbott gonna be back in?
Yeah, Mr. Abbott, you be back in
It's
town on the
fine with me,
16th, won't you?
16th or the 17th, either one's fine with me.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, in that case, I'll make a motion that we move the previously scheduled November board meeting to November the 16th. And I also make it a part of my motion that those votes we took to schedule public hearings on the 15th, we amend those to the 16th of November.
Motion made, is that second?
Second.
Further discussion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next, Economic Development Authority Local Tax Reimbursement Grant. Please transfer by consent $72,522.41 from the general fund and supplement to 8105/6007 special projects for the Board of Supervisors Local Tax Grant. The board and EDA approved the grant fund's incentive when Central Virginia Services Incorporated expanded Firefly broadband services into Appomattox County. Is there a motion then to transfer $72,522.41 from the general fund to 8105/6007?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we make the transfer of $72,522.41 from the general to the special projects.
Motion duly made, is there a second?
Second.
And second discussion? Roll call vote, Mr. Abbott?
Aye.
Mr. Hinkle?
Aye.
Mr. Hips?
Aye.
Mr. Holt?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Next is the Sheriff's Department Asset Forfeiture account. Please transfer by consent $10,000 from the Asset Forfeiture account to the general fund and appropriate to 3102-5816 Asset Forfeiture. Is there a motion then to approve the $10,000 by consent from the Asset Forfeiture account to the general fund and appropriate to 3102-5816 Asset Forfeiture?
Motion to approve.
Motion made, is that second?
Second.
Discussion? Have a roll call vote. Mr. Abbott?
Aye.
Mr. Hinkle?
Aye.
Mr. Hips?
Aye.
Mr. Holt?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Next is the Circuit Court Law Library. We need to transfer by consent $99.08 from the Law Library Fund to the General Fund and supplementing the following. That's 2101-5804 suffix, prefix, and suffix, $99.08. And it's for the purchase of law books by the Circuit Court Clerk for the Law Library. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is that second?
Second.
Discussion?
I just have a question.
Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure it's only $100, but this is normally in the consent agenda. Is there a reason it's not, or is it just for some reason? I didn't know if there's something special about it tonight.
No,
that's
it's
why.
nothing special, it's
Okay.
nothing different.
Further discussion? We'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Abbott?
Aye.
Mr. Hinkle?
Aye.
Mr. Excuse me, Mr. Hips?
Aye.
Mr. Holt?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Next is property surplus for property requested for surplus. The purchasing agent has attached for our review a list of items to be declared as surplus by the Board of Supervisors. These items will be publicly sold by the purchasing agent and proceeds from the sale of these items will be deposited in the county's general fund for future use. Also attaches a list of assets that have been sold on gov deals. So is there a motion to declare the attached list as surplus and authorize purchase agent to advertise the public sale?
So moved.
Is that second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Next is the Commissioner of the Revenue Refund Request. Mrs. Sarah Henderson, Commissioner of the Revenue, is requesting the following to be paid from line item 1209-5803 refunds. And I'll think, let's do both of them. Refund Phyllis Severo, $317.24 for the 2021 personal property taxes. The vehicle was sold on December 31st, 2020. Also refund Leah Haffer, $54.09 for 2021 personal property taxes. The vehicle is registered in Lynchburg, Virginia, where she resides. Before we get into, is there any questions on either one of these two? Any concerns? If not, is there a motion to transfer, go ahead.
So moved.
Motion made, is that second?
Second.
Second. Discussion? We'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Abbott?
Aye.
Mr. Hinkle?
Aye.
Mr. Hips?
Aye.
Mr. Hogan?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Next, gentlemen, is committee appointments. 2021 redistricting committee appointments. At the September 2021 meeting, the board tabled to the October 2021 meeting, the redistricting committee appointments. The committee would be comprised of 2 members of the Board of Supervisors, 3 citizens at large, the general registrar, the county administrator, and the director of community development. Mr. Hinkle has requested that Mr. Lanny Seltz of 1689 Salem Road, Spell Spring, Virginia, be considered for nomination as the at-large appointment. Mr. Seltz is a retired engineer and program manager with analytical skills. He is retired and will be available to meet day or evening. Okay, that's great. Does anyone else have any?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Hibbs?
Yeah, I'd like to recommend Tommy Adams of Adams Mill Lane from my district. He would, if it could be done in one day, he's indicated that he could accommodate that in the daytime with notice. If it would be more than that, then he would need to do evenings.
Okay. I'd like to put it on the table from the courthouse district, Mr. Tom Ford. He's retired from Arriva, or now Framatome. He's a local farmer, if you will. A lot of you may remember his dad was the police chief for the town of Appomattox for a number of years. He is very capable, very knowledgeable, and he is from this area also. So I'm going to submit Mr. Tom Ford's name. Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I also have a name from the Appomattox River District. I've spoken with the individual, and he's expressed that he would be willing to serve. However, he does have a daytime job, and he could take some vacation time to attend a meeting here or there, but I don't know what his complete schedule is. And I guess it depends on what board members are going to be appointed as to where the citizen members would come from. But I do have a name from Appomattox River District if needed.
Okay, now, the way I understand this too, correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Adams and Mr. Roy, the way with the new system and all, computer system, et cetera, this is something that it's not going to take a lot of time.
No,
Is that right?
that's correct.
Well, we could vote on the ones that we got, and you wanna get back with us?
Mr. Chairman,
Appointee?
wasn't there a resolution that went along with it? Seems like I remember from last month when we discussed this, that there was a resolution we had to pass too, or am I mistaken?
To tell you the truth, I don't know.
That would be at the end of the process to submit.
Would be an ordinance. Well, what you would do is you create whatever maps we want to submit to the Attorney General's office. We have to submit to the AG's office. They have 60 days to tell us they don't like it. If they don't tell us they don't like it, then it's approved. We would ultimately approve an ordinance, but we can approve the ordinance after we submit to the AG. So really, the committee, the redistrict committee would come up with their proposal. I would recommend you guys look at it. You say, yes, we're fine with it. We put that on paper, sent to the AG's office, and then we turn it into an ordinance and adopt that either November or December.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. O.
last month, when it came up, there was also a member from the town of Appomattox, on previous redistricting committees, a member from the town of Appomattox and the town of Pamplin. Will we not do that this time?
His nominee would live in the town.
Okay.
Yes.
That would cover that. I don't know about.
One of the things, we're not allowed to have split precincts, so we probably need to be thinking about the town of Appomattox. I don't know how we do Pamplin, but the town of Appomattox will probably be its own precinct. I don't know if it is now.
It is.
It is, okay, so we're fine then,
And last question is last month, it was brought up about time commitment, and it was discussed that there'd have to be some general education first, and then maybe multiple sessions. So are we saying that, can we get this done in a couple of meetings, you think, or?
Well, Mr. Rourke he's putting together some plans to introduce to the committee. And if the committee will pick which ones they're in favor of, and then they can tweak that. So as rapidly as the committee works and operates, that's how the process, the timeliness of the process.
Okay.
And I guess the last thing, Mr. Chairman, is if we're going to appoint 2 members of the board, I guess we need to know which 2 members that's going to be, so we'll know whether which districts need citizen representation.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman.
Oh, Mr.
That suggestion was mine last time, that their districts be represented, but they don't have to be. They can be at-large in the county. I think that, personally, I like the idea of the districts being represented, but it doesn't have to be that.
I was gonna come to the supervisors on that after we get a hold of these 3 citizens.
I'm gonna bow out on that. I anticipated my district having a decent amount of growth, and so I expected that my district would change. And I guess I kind of feel strange about being involved in that process, almost as if it's a conflict, so
Yes.
I don't want to be involved in that.
Okay, but you still want to submit though, Mr. Adams?
Yeah, he can represent the district.
Mr. Chairman, do you have 2 board members that are willing to serve on this committee?
Well, I was getting ready to ask, do we have any volunteers?
I'm willing to serve, Mr. Chairman, but I've got some thoughts that I'd like to see change with some of those voting lines. In particular, I think we need to look at some of the physical boundaries. Sometimes we use streets. We ought to be using creeks or rivers instead of streets, because folks on one side of the street vote in one precinct and folks on the other side of the street vote someplace else. And they gotta drive, all the way around their elbow to get to their voting precinct. So sometimes it makes sense to use roads, sometimes it doesn't. I also have some concerns about our voting sites. I think some of those really need to be looked at and changed. So I do have some thoughts on the subject, so I'm willing to serve if you choose to appoint me. If not, I have a name ready for a citizen.
Just,
Okay.
if I
Mr.
may,
Hill?
just out of curiosity, do you have the same confusion in your districts as to the name of your district that I do? Wreck Island District is confusing to a lot of people. I just curious if that's,
Haven't heard that being an issue.
I think geographically, calling my district Stonewall or something like that, even though there's a greater area, you know, Rise there would make a little bit more sense, but I don't know the historical reason why they switched to the rivers, but, or the, you know, watersheds.
Only thing I can remember about it was because of Wreck Island Creek.
Sure.
And it, you know, that was about it. I thought then when the name, when the Blue Ribbon Committee came up years ago, when stood at the 3 supervisors, they added 2 more. And when they named that the Wreck Island Creek, I thought, don't know about all that.
Yeah.
But that was just my thought.
Yeah, and people that live along it know the name. But in general, even in the county elsewhere, it causes a lot of confusion.
Well, maybe that's something y'all could talk about. Yeah, do I have another volunteer?
I think we need legal advice on that, if that would be a responsibility of this committee.
Well, the committee could certainly recommend renaming the districts, just rename them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if you want. That's what a lot of counties do, they just number their districts. But, yeah, you can certainly make that part of the, because we're gonna be drafting an ordinance, so we can rename those districts in the ordinance if we want to.
Another volunteer?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Hinkle?
I kind of feel like Mr. Hips does it. I'm going to have some changes, and I don't really want involved in setting in the boundary. And to Mr. Hogan's remark about creeks, I voted in Pamplin for 4 years because the registrar had me on the wrong side of Cub Creek.
Oh. Another volunteer. Come one, come all.
I don't,
Mr. Abbey, you gonna have a whole lot of time, aren't you?
I'll do it if you want, but I don't particularly want to. You know, the boundaries are gonna have to change from all the districts. That's what they did last time, 10 years ago. And, so to adjust it according to the Department of Justice, that we have to get within, I don't know what the percent is, 2 or 3%. You're gonna have to, adjust the boundaries. As Mr. Hip said, his is gonna shrink. Some of them are gonna grow. As a matter of fact, all of them are probably gonna have to grow to get with it. I've been through this in the General Assembly, and if nobody else will volunteer, I'll do it, but it's not a fun thing, I'll tell you.
Just for the record, it's 5%, as long as there's the 5%. We're
Well, then
inside. We can
5%. actually
actually go higher, but then you run the risk of it being a problem. As long as you stay under 5 or under, we're okay.
Okay. After hearing discussion on this, is there a motion to appoint for the 2 supervisors, Mr. Hogan and Mr. Abbott? And as far as the 3 citizens, Mr. Lanny Seltz, Mr. Tom Adams, and Mr. Tom Ford.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion.
Motion duly made, is that second?
Second,
Further discussion?
if one of these people can't do it, yeah, I mean, if that would be an issue if it was all daytime meetings, that could be an issue for the.
Right. Okay, great.
I can adjust my schedule if I have to. If it's just gonna be a couple daytime meetings.
Yeah.
we'll certainly keep that in mind if that's a request from the board, as we hold late afternoon or evening meetings.
Yeah,
Well,
I think that would accommodate everybody.
yes. We certainly do appreciate the 2 supervisors and the citizens for this committee. Now, motion's made, second. We don't need a roll call. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, congratulations.
And just for the record, for the citizens at large, so they'll know, and so for Kayla, this is a board committee, is therefore subject to notice requirements and advertising requirements under FOIA and is open to the public. So if anybody from the public wants to come, they are welcome to come, and it will be advertised and need to be open public meetings.
Right. Okay, next is consent agenda. The consent agenda includes approval of all bills, minutes, supplemental appropriations, line item transfers, and fund transfers. Any item on the consent agenda shall be removed from the consent agenda after the request of any board member prior to the vote on the consent agenda. Items removed from the consent agenda shall be considered by the board individually in order in which they were removed from the consent agenda immediately following consideration of the consent agenda. So gentlemen, had time to review the line item transfers, the minutes, supplemental appropriations, especially the bills. Any questions, concerns?
Mr. Chairman, I just have a question about the LHS that we added to the list, and I haven't seen it, I'm trying to find it, but is this the fee that we would normally be paying them anyway? Okay, that's all I need to know.
It's the 6-month fee that, under the contractual agreement.
So have any word from them on whether they agree to hold on until we're ready?
Yes, and I'll report on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
No further, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Now, all this can be made in one motion, can it not?
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as is?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve the amended consent agenda.
Okay. Second? Second. Discussion? Roll call vote, Mr. Abbott?
Aye.
Mr. Hinkle? Aye. Mr. Hips? Aye. Mr. Hogan?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Mr. Latch?
Only comment I have, Mr. Chairman, is how much I enjoy working in Appomattox County. That's it.
And I'd like to say what a joy it is to have you. Ms. Adams?
Yes, sir. I have 3 short things I'd like to report to the board, and it's all positive. It's good
You
stuff.
said short?
Short.
I don't believe it.
Yeah. So first of all, Mrs. Marshall and myself, we met with Jan Walker, the director of LHS, last week. They've accepted all terms that the county attorney prepared in the amended LHS agreement, and they're having their board sign it next week at their meeting, at their regular meeting. They are willing to help us in any way to make it a smooth transition. So in December, we'll be working on some goals about moving the animals and getting them in place. They're also offering some of their policies, some of their software, their reports, anything that we need that they have that we can use, then they said that they would be glad to transfer that over. The Facebook page, since everybody's accustomed to using that, that's the go-to place, so they're willing to turn that over to us as well. So, and they are looking forward, they consider us as still having a partnership, and if we need them in the future, they're there to help in any way, they said. And also, we received a call from Woodman of the World, Rodney Diener, and he saw the article in the paper, and he was excited about it and wanted to see how they could help with a facelift to the exterior of the animal shelter building. So Rodney Diener and Alan Alston volunteered their services. They went to the shelter. They worked on the landscaping around the sign. They power washed the building. They trimmed the shrubbery. And I think we have pictures of before and after of their day's work at the shelter. So we're getting, we communicated that to LHS, and they're excited about the community support that we're getting already. So that's, of course, the before picture. Whoops, okay, can you zoom in? And that's an after picture. You can see the mulching, they trimmed the shrubbery, and they also did landscaping around the side. So that was a nice community project for them, and we appreciate them doing it.
Yes, ma'am. And may I add before you go to the next one?
Yes,
before
sir.
I forget it?
Uh-huh.
If you hadn't already done, you probably already have, but submit a letter, thank you letter.
And we've also, we haven't submitted the letter yet, but we encourage the Times Virginia to cover that as a positive story
Exactly.
of their work in the community. So I spoke to the editor of the paper who said that he would be on top of that. And also, Firefly Invitation. Is anyone available this week to go to their celebration of 10,000 connections? They said that they have allowed for 2 attendees from each locality. So does anyone want to attend that? It's in, it's near Livingston. I can't think of the name of the community. Anyway. Yeah, CVEC.
That date doesn't suit me.
I'd like to connect it with I got the reason workforce at 4 in Lynchburg. Do the 2 o'clock.
I think you can. If not, you can participate virtually. But I thought I had the invitation. I think I sent it in an email, but I'll also remind you of it. Anybody else? And the last thing I'd like to express, the Railroad Festival's board's appreciation for the contribution that the county made toward the festival this past weekend. We're very appreciative of it. I think with your contribution, we were able to have good music groups, and I think it was a fun weekend for everyone. So on behalf of the board, I'd like to say thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, concerns from county administrator?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Hinkle?
I would just like to say that I think that the county administrator did an excellent job as president of the Railroad Festival, too.
Well, thank you.
And I only heard 2 negatives, and that was not enough food vendors and too many Jeeps.
Well, and Mr. Carter can communicate, there weren't enough Jeeps.
It won't be 33.
But did you notice how well decorated the golf cart was?
Oh, yes. We were well represented. Okay. Next, gentlemen, is reports and information items you have before you. The Albemarle County High School construction update, school financial report, Robert E. Lee Soil and Water Conservation District Board of Directors meeting minutes, and the Appomattox Department of Social Services. Any questions, any concerns about these 4 items? If not, we are engaged into supervisor concerns. Mr. Abbott.
None tonight.
Mr. Hinkle.
Well, my concern is really in Mr. Hogan's district, but I was curious if VDOT went and changed contractors, because when they did Evergreen Road from Evergreen down to the county line, it's like a washboard now in places, and there's so much loose gravel, it's like, did they put anything down to hold the gravel down?
You gonna check on that, Ms. Allen?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hitt. Mr. Hogan.
Just a couple things, Mr. Chairman. I know, but usually in May, we do a resolution for Police Week. And this year, all of the Police Week activities were postponed because of COVID to October. And I just want to recognize, and it's probably my fault for not having a resolution ready, but the meeting was going to be after Police Week, so it's kind of like, do I bring one or not? But I just want to recognize, all the hard work that our deputies do, and to protect our community, and, and the fact that they risk their lives every day for us. And I just want to let that concern be known. And October the 28th, I believe, is National First Responders Day. So that would be another opportunity for our citizens to recognize our, not just our law enforcement, but all of our first responders who in this county happen to all be volunteers for our rescue concern. But just want to put that out there. And also want to thank Ms. Adams for her work on the Railroad Festival Committee and the entire committee for all of their hard work putting on a good festival. And I just want to say, Ms. Adams does a whole lot behind the scenes that's not really a part of her job as the county administrator. And a lot of folks may not realize just how involved in our community she is. And I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Her face ain't that red. I don't mean to sound redundant, but I agree with everyone's congratulations to Ms. Adams and the Railroad Festival Committee. That's a lot of hard work, a lot of hours spent, and it requires a lot of dedication. Also, I'd like to thank the town businesses for staying open, and also for the ones in the county to reap, really, the benefits of such a successful railroad festival. And I just know next year can't wait for next year, really. We'll watch it for the Jeep, so.
And I'd like to add also, every good leader has a great team, and the Railroad Festival Committee is a great team. They work together, and we get a lot accomplished.
Very good. All right. Our next meeting is November the 16th, which is a Tuesday. Right now it's at 6:30. Subject to change, I'm sure. Now we engage in a closed session.
Yes, sir, we do unfortunately have a closed session tonight. All right. Whereas the Board of Supervisors of Appomattox County desires to discuss in closed meeting the following matters: discussion concerning a respective industry where no previous announcement has been made of the business or industry's interest in locating or expanding its facilities in Appomattox County; consultation with legal counsel pertaining to actual or probable litigation where such consultation or open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the public body concerning the authority trash lawsuit; consultation with legal counsel employee retained by the public body regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel concerning the registrar's office. And whereas pursuant to sections 2.2, 3711A1, A7, A8, and A5 of the Code of Virginia, such discussions may occur in closed meeting. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Appomattox County does hereby authorize discussion of aforestated matters in closed meeting. Need that as a motion.
Is there a motion? So moved. A second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Yes, yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Propose that we can cut off the stream and the recording and everything, but in order for him to hear y'all and y'all hear him, we'll have to keep the mics on, but I can make sure everything else is pulled and dead. But you shouldn't be hearing it, well, other than through the door, maybe muffled, but I can hear it. Right. If you want to play it absolutely safe, then that might be the way to go. Yeah, that would probably be a good idea, because I don't know the number either. If someone could tell him y'all are about to call him, I don't know if he
Mr.
knows
Abbott?
what we were saying.
I am here, yeah.
What we're
I
going to
just want to
do,
make sure,
we're going to cut everything off.
Go
We're
ahead.
just going to cut you off, and then we're going to call you back on the telephone.
Sounds good to me. I'll hang up